Good evening. Good evening. President Paperman, members of the governing board, Superintendent Finch, and a boatload of special guests. Woo! We had hoped to begin tonight with our district spelling bee. Unfortunately, Nicola Goich could not be here tonight, but we're hoping to honor him at a future board meeting. So, we are beginning with an honor for two of our high schools. At a recent formal unit evaluation, Deer Valley High School and Sandra Day O'Connor High School Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, or JROTC, both received an overall exceeds standards rating. This is the highest rating attainable. The purpose of the formal unit evaluation was to provide feedback regarding the performance of a unit and to assess its compliance with public law, Department of Defense, and Air Force instruction and the written agreement which exists between the school district and the Air Force. The Air Force representative who visited the two schools said that the cadets displayed exemplary pride in their unit and the instructors are exceptional role models who are clearly invested in the leadership and character development of their cadets, providing an unsurpassed level of mentorship and guidance daily. They are providing a high-quality Air Force Junior ROTC program. Congratulations to DVUSD's two Air Force Junior ROTC programs. First up, Deer Valley High School's cadets Aaron Anderson, Keith Castillo-Utiro, Bennett Lyon, Riley Wieters, and their leaders, Major Von Whited and Master Sergeant Danelia Stilchin, for earning an overall unit rating of exceeds standards. No, just the logo. Thank you. Congratulations. Our next congratulations goes out to Sandra Day O'Connor High School's cadets, their senior leaders who are here, and their leaders, Master Sergeant Mike Beatty and Colonel Donald Clarkson, for earning an overall unit rating of exceeds standards. Each year, the Arizona School Public Relations Association, or ASPRA, recognizes standards of excellence in school public relations through its Aspirations Awards. Winning entries demonstrate how sound public relations principles, creativity, and commitment to improving communications were used in pursuit of organizational goals. Professionals in communications in state public relations chapters outside of Arizona serve as judges. Criteria are based on industry standards and professional judgment. This year, DVUSD's Communications and Community Engagement Department were proud to accept 2 awards of excellence. First, in the annual report category for DVUSD's Special Report to the Community, which is the only publication sent to all households within the Deer Valley District. This report demonstrates the district's fiscal responsibility and extraordinary opportunities for every learner, our mission. We received a second award of excellence in the Special Purpose Publication category for the Extraordinary Achievements digital publication, which this year ran 35 pages, packed with achievements, honors, recognitions, and grants received across the district during the previous school year. It is my honor to recognize the 2 ASPRA Awards of Excellence and Extraordinary Work of DVUSD's Communications and Community Engagement Department and my colleagues Kayla Paloga and Lauren Cudray. All right, since 1986, the Deer Valley Education Foundation, DVEF, has supported the work and achievement of the Deer Valley students and staff. And for the past 30 years, they have recognized our most outstanding teachers. To continue that tradition, it is my pleasure to introduce DVEF board member Karen Meyer. Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
I can do it. Okay. Water if you need it.
It is our pleasure to be here this evening to honor our Teachers and Rookies of the Year, as well as our National Board Certified Teachers. And before we begin, we want to thank our sponsors. So if we look at the next slide, we have wonderful sponsors of our program: Discover, Chase, VSMG, McCarthy, CORE, Gary and Diana Feldman, DKG, and Grads Photography. And I would just like to give them a round of applause, because without them, we would not be able to have this wonderful program. So to begin with our first honoree this evening, going to go to our next slide. Shauna Collins. Shauna is a 15-year teaching veteran. She presently teaches kindergarten at Legend Spring Elementary School. Ms. Collins is also a National Board Certified Teacher. She stated, "I'm passionate about building meaningful relationships and understanding students' learning styles, cultural backgrounds, and interests. Connecting this knowledge to lessons increases student motivation." We honor her this evening. Shauna, please come forward. And while Shauna's getting her picture taken, if Annie Craig could come up over to the side of by me by the podium. Annie Craig has taught for 10 years and currently teaches K-12 general music to our Vista Peak students. Ms. Craig wrote, "Nothing is more satisfying than knowing that the work you have done has not only been an inspiration, but has had a lasting impact on their lives to affect the human spirit in positive ways. This is the essence of being an accomplished educator." Congratulations, Ms. Craig. And then if Kristen Crisp could come up, please. Kristen Crisp has been teaching for 17 years and is currently at Union Park School teaching kindergarten. Ms. Crisp stated, "Every day I commit myself wholeheartedly to education. I believe every student can succeed. I strive to cultivate an environment of support, family, and self-efficacy. My goal is for my classroom to feel like home." Please join me in honoring Kristen Crisp. Congratulations. Next is Wendy Hildebrandt Mate. Is she coming? She is. Wendy spends her days teaching fifth grade English language arts at Stetson Hills. She has been teaching for 9 years. She stated, "I have never thought of myself as outstanding. Rather, I am just a teacher who loves her job and wants her students to succeed. I am always trying new and creative ideas to make my students engaged and invested in their learning." Please congratulate Wendy. Okay. And if we could have Candace Garrett, please. Desert Sage Elementary is home to Candace Garrett. Ms. Garrett has taught 12 years and is currently teaching fourth grade English language arts and social studies. Ms. Garrett stated, "I plan my lessons to ensure learning for each and every child. I instill a love of learning, but more than that, rouse curiosity, using strategies to focus on positive interdependence, individual accountability, equal participation, and simultaneous interaction." Join us in honoring Candace Garrett. Okay. And Casey Mamula King. Ms. King started teaching seventh grade 17 years ago and now calls Mountain Ridge High School her home, teaching world history honors and advanced placement human geography. Ms. King stated, "I am not the sage on the stage. I am a big believer in collaborative, discussion-based learning. We learn real-world skills about how to disagree, how to change our minds when presented with new information, and how to have empathy." We congratulate Casey Mamula King. Next, we have Chelsea Lanningham. Chelsea Lanningham came to DVUSD 7 years ago. She is one of our Aspire online learning teachers teaching 9th through 11th grade English language arts. She stated, "My greatest accomplishment in education are my contributions to the creation of Deer Valley's online course curriculum. It is collaborative and interactive, it is rigorous and innovative, and these are the characteristics that I strive to incorporate." Please join us in honoring Chelsea Lanningham. Heather Lorenz. Heather Lorenz brings 20-plus years of experience to her Legend Springs classroom. She teaches third grade math, science, and social studies. She stated, "I believe in my students. Maybe more importantly than my belief in them is that I get them to believe in themselves because they know they can trust me and count on me to provide the strategies they need to be successful." We congratulate Heather Lorenz. Andrea McCall. Andrea McCall is a veteran 25-year experienced teacher, spending her time at Las Brisas Elementary teaching all subject areas in kindergarten, first and third grades. She stated, "I accept all students where they are and set individual goals to get each student where they need to be. Differentiation is key to reaching those goals." We thank Andrea for her service. Troy Marinelli. Troy Marinelli is an experienced teacher of 18 years, currently teaching 6th grade science and social studies at Desert Stage. Mr. Marinelli stated, "I have always had a passion for working with kids, and I get to do it as a career. I always keep a positive attitude and show each student the attention and respect they deserve." Congratulations to Troy Marinelli. Okay. Christine Rhodes. Christine Rhodes brings 14 years of experience with her to her 7th grade science and 7th and 8th grade STEM classes at Terramar Academy of the Arts. She stated, "I make my students feel understood, loved, safe, and important. Beyond the content, investing into who my students are and ensuring that they know they are enough just as they are is my greatest accomplishment." Please honor Christine Rhodes. Mitchell Sang. Mitchell teaches kindergarten at Desert Sage. He has been with the district for 8 years. He stated, "My ultimate goal is teaching students to advocate for themselves and take pride and ownership over their own education so that they can build the foundation that they have laid for themselves." Please join us in honoring Mitchell Sang. Good. And this year, we have selected 2 Rookies of the Year. Our first rookie is Carly Stalinsky. Carly teaches special education and 6th grades at Copper Creek. She stated, "Learning how to impact students' lives, knowing that I would be a part of these kids' lives, even if just for a short time, was something that no other profession offered. I was hooked." Join us in congratulating Carly Stalinsky. Okay. And our second Rookie of the Year is Mindy Wagner. Mindy resides at Union Park School, teaching writing, math, and social skills in kindergarten through 3rd grade, as well as math and behavior social skills for kindergarten through 2nd grade resource class. She stated of her first year, "I try my hardest to be what my students need. I learn my students' strengths and weaknesses and then build on those to help them be successful." Join us in thanking Mindy Wagner for joining the Deer Valley family. And now Dr. Paula Chunas will honor our new National Board Certified teachers and those retaining their certification.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to announce our newest certified and recertified National Board Certified teachers. I'd like to take a minute to recognize the leadership and work that has occurred under our amazing National Board Certified leadership team. Several of our team members are being recognized tonight. With our amazing leadership team, we've been able to provide National Board candidates with 5 DV support providers and 4 volunteer providers. In 2018, we had 15 nationally board certified teachers and 2 candidates. And now, under this amazing leadership team, we have 29 nationally board certified teachers and 20 candidates. Congratulations. Yay. Congratulations to our newly certified and our newly recertified. I don't have the clicker. Oh, you do. Okay. Tamara Chavez, come on up.
Would you like to advance?
No, you can.
Okay.
Tamara teaches 6th grade at Mirage Elementary with 16 years of experience. She stated, "This process made me more reflective of my teaching practices, and it has made me a stronger teacher." Congratulations, Tamara. Annie Craig. Annie returns to be honored again this evening. She stated, "The process of becoming a National Board Certified teacher has helped me to really focus on the skills and mindset that I needed to become a more accomplished and more effective teacher." Congratulations, Annie. Lisa Holson. Lisa has been teaching for 35 years and presently teaches kindergarten at Copper Creek. She stated, achieving national board certification means the world to me. It strengthens my own instructional practices as well as committing me to leadership and advancing our teaching profession. Congratulations, Lisa. Holly Schrade. Holly Schrade has 23 years of experience and now teaches orchestra and general music at Highland Lakes. She stated, this achievement affirms for me that I am a better teacher for my students, a better teammate on my campus, and a better leader in my community. Congratulations, Holly. Tia Wilson. Tia brings 16 years of counseling experience to Barry Goldwater High School. She stated, achieving national board afforded me the ability to improve the efficacy of the counseling department and to advance the quality of teaching and counseling provided to my students. Congratulations, Tia. Yay! Our next group of honorees have all continued to maintain their national certification. Lisa Holson was included in this group. But now we have Lissa Borchers. English teacher for 21 years at Mountain Ridge High School. Lissa stated, being able to reflect on my practice and striving to be a better teacher each year is such a rewarding experience. It's amazing to be part of such a dedicated group of educators. Please honor Ms. Borchers. Congratulations. Katie Brown, come on up. Katie Brown brings 19 years of experience to her Diamond Canyon 5th grade team. She noted, I love that this process keeps me reflective and always striving to be the best teacher I can be. Congratulations, Katie. Alexis Laduca. Alexis Laduca is a 26-year veteran teaching English at Mountain Ridge High School. She stated, "I am honored to officially maintain my letters, and each day I am inspired by the process and the ability to see the National Board magic shine in my classroom as it strengthens my students' learning." Congratulations, Alexis. And Sharon Reed. Sharon Reed is another 26-year veteran teaching K-2 special education at New River. Her quote is so perfect: "Aspire to inspire." Join us in honoring Sharon Reed. All right, and if all of the nationally board certified teachers could come back up, we'd like to get one group picture.
And you might want to tell you're
What
going to
about
have
the
to say it
teachers of
again.
the year? Did we do that?
Yeah, and so ask if the teachers of the year could stay for a group picture.
And then if the teachers of the year could also stay for a group picture, we'll do those. We'll do national board, and then we'll do the teachers of the year. Four, five. Yeah. I'm like, I'm counting. We're missing one. So cute. All right, and if our teachers of the year and rookies of the year can come up. Teachers of the year and rookies of the year, come on up. It's a good group. Then I'll introduce Charlie.
Okay?
Okay,
Yeah, Paula.
I can help.
How about you?
How about me?
So that's an awesome idea.
Good.
Did a great job.
Thank you. That's easy. Easy content. Congratulations to our teachers and rookies of the year. And now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Charlie Philippik, President of the Deer Valley Education Foundation.
Thank you, members of the governing board, Superintendent Finch. Thank you, everyone. And all of you that are in this business, thank you for such a noble way to spend your life. We thank you. I've been with the board for 31 years, and this is one of my favorite things to do. So everybody that you saw today, we're very proud that we honored 22 teachers for their hard work, because it's not easy, and their accomplishments. We're able, again, to thank our sponsors, Discover, Chase Building Team, Core Construction, McCarthy Building Companies, Valley Schools, Grad's Photography, and Diana and Gary Feldman. And we have one more sponsor. But before I do that, I want you all to know that each person honored today received a check for $500. No, there's no running, please. No running. Thank you. I was educated in Chicago, and I want you to know that high school was the 7 best years of my life. I only say that to see if people are paying attention. Okay, we have one more sponsor who get away today, and they wanted to be sure to congratulate you, so they have donated one $500 gift certificate for a vacation package for Disneyland. And so I'm going to ask Paul to come. If you
I'm gonna hold it high so I don't cheat. I don't want to cheat.
Chelsea Lanningun. You're going to Disneyland.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you to the Deer Valley Education Foundation. All right, a couple of quick announcements. If you want additional photos taken, you can meet our photographer over at the photo backdrop. We are having a presentation tonight. We'd love for you to stay. It's Deer Valley's Air Force Junior ROTC. If you'd like to stay, you can sit in the seats where you are. If you're planning to leave, please leave quickly and quietly. And have a good night.
Anything else we need to take back? My lips are so chapped.
I put chapstick on right before I left my house. 5-10 minutes.
Oh, we're going quick.
Oh, we're going 5.
What's that? We're going quick.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
4
I had a
slides,
lot
right?
more planned. I had a lot more.
Look at you. You're a pro. I'm opening this.
Take a swig before we're on.
That room really emptied out. Almost need some paper cutouts. People sitting in the audience.
Look at Adam go. I'm not gonna.
Press this one to advance. So I'm going to do it right now. That's your first slide. So you'll just press it to the right. Okay?
Okay, we're about ready to get started. I want to thank the Deer Valley crew for showing up. We have the O'Connor crew behind us. They're going to help with the colors as well. So we want to do a presentation. Monica's going to do so in a minute. But I wanted to stop everything and thank Miss Allred. She had actually got a new job at ASU. I think she's probably going to run the university or something, but she's busy visiting. But it turns out Monica has been here for 8 years, I believe. She is the maestro that makes all this run well, so we want to thank her for all her service. She is what Deer Valley is all about. So congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cadet Keith Castillo. I'm the Inspector General at Deer Valley High School.
Good afternoon. I am Cadet Aaron Anderson. I am the group commander. Good afternoon. I'm Cadet Riley Wieters. I'm the vice commander.
Good evening. I'm Cadet Bennett Lyon, and I'm the Director of Operations of Deer Valley High School.
I'd like to give a special thanks to the board for having us tonight, and I'd like to thank all of you in the crowd for our time. A special introduction for Major Whited and Master Sergeant Stilchin. Start us off tonight. We're at Deer Valley High School's AFJRTC unit. We are a Silver Star with Silver Star Community Service with Excellence 4-time award winner. Us and O'Connor have both been awarded that multiple times. Both of us rank in the top 5% of the nation's ROTC units. We are also a distinguished unit with merit as of last year. We are a unit that is really more, it's not about recruiting. That's not what JRTC is about. It's really about the experiences that we provide and the opportunities that even extend outside of school. I know me personally, I've taken the past 4 years and I plan to turn it into a career. I'm going to use this experience that I've gained and this discipline that I have to apply for ROTC at ASU and NAU. So I'm waiting to hear back about those scholarships, but I've applied both to there, had the interviews done, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to turn these past 4 years of fun experiences that you're going to hear a bunch about soon into hopefully a career that I can stay in for a while. That's my hope. So I'd like to also draw attention to O'Connor's and our community service, which we'll touch on a bit more later. Both of our units bring in thousands of hours a year in community service through various activities. So this unit and O'Connor's are both truly about the experiences and the community service and all like the friendships you make along the way, all the opportunities provided to. I'm going to hand it off to Cadet Aaron Anderson. Excuse me. Hand it off to Cadet Riley Wieters for the next slide.
So to tell you more about our character and the experiences inside of the Corps, I'd like to tell you about our mission, the honor code, and the values that we hold dear. Our mission is to develop young citizens of character who are dedicated to serve their country as well as their community. Our honor code is something that we put personal desire in our cadets and to live by the honor system. It is, I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor will I tolerate those who do. Our values are to involve cadets in numerous activities and opportunities that will help them to demonstrate our core values. These are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all that we do. We hold about 180 events throughout the year. These include leadership camp, military ball dance, and our base tours. Leadership camp is held in the first part of the summer, and cadets are selected to go to the leadership camp where they are put into flights with other schools, with Agua and O'Connor, and they have to learn how to work together and get over their differences to achieve their goals. We hold the military ball that's happening this Friday, and we have the privilege at hosting that this year. Um, it's really just to promote people being involved throughout the year so that way they can wear their blues at the end and show off their medals, as well as just have fun at a dance. Our base tours is something else that we do so that way we can show our cadets what it's like if you continue throughout and if you go into the service afterwards. With our academics, we go over leadership education, the science of flight, aviation history, exploring space, survival, and military customs and courtesies. Each of those takes about a year, as you can see, and yeah, I'm going to pass it off to Cadet Aaron Anderson.
Hello. As mentioned before, this program is not at all to recruit. It's really not even an elective. It's more just to teach about life experiences. That being said, we take a lot of pride in our community service. We complete thousands of hours throughout the year, as O'Connor does as well. We help feed the homeless by doing produce on wheels. We go to elementary schools, help with their festivals. We even do monthly campus cleanings with the whole unit. Another thing we really focus on is teaching discipline, precision, and excellence. We do that mainly through our drill team as well as our air rifle team. Our color guard is also pictured up there. That for me has been probably one of my better decisions because it has taught a lot about teamwork and trust. We also get to do a lot of opportunities that not many people can just do, like going to the MLB spring training games, which is coming up. We even go to the graduations and present the colors there. As mentioned before, also, we teach a lot of STEM and survival skills. Survival skills was probably one of my favorite units that we learned last year. Teaching first aid, we went horseback riding, we built little forts in our habitat area. And then to focus on STEM, we're kind of doing that this year with our aviation history. Even a few of our cadets went to indoor skydiving as well. I'll pass this on to Cadet Bennett Line.
Good evening. To add on to Cadet Anderson, our drill team is more than just building discipline and teamwork. It's also to build the bonds that will last for many years. And personally for me, for drill, I have been a part of it for 4 years, and I've built bonds that have not broken, and I'm building new bonds every day. And we also offer for drill our cadets to have the opportunity to compete in competitions and to prove their skill and hopefully bring home a trophy as well as represent their school. We also have other activities such as orienteering and escape and evade, which escape and evade we collaborate with O'Connor, which we send our underclassmen out to escape the seniors as they go and try and navigate the back of O'Connor High School, and they are given a scenario which the seniors are providing. And for our orienteering, they are given, or cadets are broken up into teams of 2, which then they are given a map and a compass and told to go find as many points as possible in the allotted time, which is normally about 90 minutes. And to add on to that, we also have our RC plane, which is another STEM activity, which we take cadets out to near O'Connor to a mountain area where there's a bunch of RC pilots, which they teach our cadets how to fly them, and they're given opportunities to fly those RC planes every Thursday. And to add on to our other activities such as paintball, we collaborate with O'Connor as well with that, which is just a friendly competition between the two schools, which then also build bonds between the two schools. With all of this, we build ourselves a family within this unit and bonds that will not be broken for years to come. But we cannot have this happen without the guidance and teachings of our instructors, Major Whited and Master Sergeant Stilchin. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the team you'd like to ask? Feel free to inquire anything. These guys are books of knowledge.
So the program is a class, so it takes 1 hour of the day, and anyone can sign up for it. The only requirement is that you wear the uniform 1 day a week and you participate in our PT activities every Thursday. But it's open to the whole school. What was that?
We could bring that back. Drilling parents. Many moons ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys for your time, and I think that's all we have. Thank you.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
Okay. So that one.
Call the meeting.
Okay.
Stephanie, go.
Oh, we need
Just wait for a second, she
Stephanie.
might
We
say
need
something. You guys, I
Stephanie.
tell you what.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Y'all are waiting on a dime.
Okay.
Just teasing.
They're gonna give us a
Someone.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the governing board meeting for the Deer Valley Unified School District on Tuesday, February 28, 2023. I call to meet the order at 7:02. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. We're going to move to item C, and this is going to be Present of Colors, Stace O'Connor High School Air Force.
Pledge allegiance.
We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
For our moment of silence, I'd like us to just remember Dr. John Creekard, who passed away. Among many things that he did for our district in the short time he was here was give the Deer Valley Education Foundation the ability to have a science center, which was kind of the birth of STEM. So just wanted to say that.
You may be seated. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Our next item on the agenda is district report, starting with national board certification. There's a presentation, Dr. Paul.
Chunas.
Okay.
Thank you. President Paperman, Dr. Finch, members of the board, I am pleased to introduce our nationally board certified district coaches, Alexis LaDuca and Stephanie Eubank, and they are here to tell us a little bit about our nationally board certified program. 5 years ago, we met as a nationally board certified leadership team and envisioned what we wanted national board to look like in Deer Valley. At the time, as you heard me mention at awards, we had 15 nationally board certified teachers and 2 candidates. Our goal was to double our numbers, to provide support for our teachers, and to make a presence in Deer Valley with the National Board Certified program. So tonight, Alexis and Stephanie are going to tell you about the work that we've been doing, and I will turn it over to them.
We are beyond excited to share with you what we're doing with National Board in the district. One of the best things about National Board is that all around, no moment, wherever it is, it's inspirational. And I think that's the most exciting thing, is that we have been able to grow and develop teachers, help inspire other teachers, and make a huge impact on the students of DVUSD, which obviously is our primary goal. One of the items with National Board Certification is that it is in direct alignment to our mission and values. It is comprised of, the process is 4 different components that assess content knowledge, and then 3 written areas: differentiation and instruction, teaching practice and learning environment, effective and reflective practitioner. And that's the nuts and bolts, but really what National Board is it shows the magic that's happening in classrooms each and every day. It was created so that teachers could be held accountable to national standards and really look at what they're doing each and every day as an accomplished teacher. In addition to mission and vision, we also are in direct alignment with the fancy new 2023-2028 strategic plan. And with this, one of the elements to consider with National Board is that not only does it deepen teacher instruction, but it's definitely an investment in teachers as well as students today. It is a difficult process. There is definitely rigor to it, and we're really so proud of all of our teachers, no matter where they are in the process. And as we work through it, we definitely see the benefits no matter where they are in that process. One of the really exciting pieces as well is that although the benefits for National Board are phenomenal, it also helps to challenge teachers to grow and reflect. And we thought this was interesting to show that it really definitely helps to strengthen educational challenges that are present today, as well as strengthen educational equity, which is really quite important. One of the things that Stephanie and I really try to do is be a source of information for principals, assistant principals, anybody that is working with teachers, so that we can help support and help teachers go through that growth process. And the byproducts of it are really phenomenal. But really at the heart of it is looking at this idea of what Peggy Brookins has said. Our work at the National Board is based on the belief that every child deserves to be taught by an accomplished teacher. When accomplished practice becomes the norm, the advantage will be significant, spreading beyond students and teachers to be felt by their communities, employers, and society at large. And although that's reading a quote to you that I know you can read, it's so impressive to see the overall impact on education as a whole. And additionally, at the heart of it really is an inspirational process. This is my 27th year teaching. I don't know how I got that old, but I did. And I have to honestly say, when I started the process and I just was able to maintain, exciting, I was at 20 years of experience. And I can genuinely say that every single moment of this process has inspired me. It has helped me to be reflective. It has challenged me, but it has made me look at what I do every single day in my classroom. And I think that's the most beautiful part. And a lot of times when we're talking with other people, we get real excited about it and we want to bring people to this light. And it sounds like a lot sometimes, but we genuinely want other teachers to be able to feel this benefit because it is pretty phenomenal.
So tonight you got to meet our newest MBCTs, and you also got to kind of reacquaint yourself with those MBCTs who have maintained their certificate. Each certificate is only good for 5 years, and in that space, MBCTs are going to continue to grow as professionals and continue to impact their students. So every 5 years when their certificate does expire, they have the opportunity to maintain their certificate and go through somewhat of an abbreviated version of those 4 components that Alexis has already shared with you. And in that space, they get to explain exactly how they've continued to grow professionally and then demonstrate that through one video recording. So here's our Golden Balloon Day, where we got to go and deliver the golden balloons to all of our new NBCTs. This is really quite an honor. I know it seems like it's just a gold Mylar balloon and, you know, not that special, I guess. But the golden balloon really is a symbol of that accomplishment. And so it's really exciting to be able to be a part of that celebration. So over the last year, what have we been up to as a network? Some things I'd just like to highlight for you is that we have now extended our candidate support meetings to 3 different locations throughout the district. So 3 times a month, our candidates have an opportunity to meet with a coach and to get some dedicated work time on their components. Also, over the summer, 5 coaches attended the statewide National Board Leadership Academy in June, and we were actually invited to share with other districts across the state what we've been doing in Deer Valley, because our network has really grown and developed so much over the last 5 years that people are starting to take notice and they want to know how they can replicate it in their own districts. We also started, last year, we started our national board workshops. We had 2 last year, and we're doing 2 plus 1 this year. And I say plus 1, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but we're giving candidates an opportunity to have one more touch with a coach before they actually submit. We also started our National Board Secret Support, which was one of our goals for last year, where through the spring, when things really start to get hairy and candidates are really kind of getting close to their submission, they have a network of people who are sending them handwritten notes through the mail, which is super exciting, right? Because we get tons of email, and I don't want to say who looks at that, but it's way more exciting when you get something in the mail and you get to open it and it's a handwritten note of encouragement. And so we're looking forward to just kind of continuing that secret support and making sure that candidates know that we're thinking about them even when we're not in front of them. So let's talk about our winter workshop. Our first winter workshop happened this January, just a few weeks ago. And candidates were able to have some one-on-one time with coaches. They got a special message at the beginning, and they had an opportunity for breakouts. And then they also got some time for video coaching, which at this point of their progress is really important. We have another Saturday coming up in the spring on March 25th, where candidates were going to be able to have more access to that video coaching and tech support. Because one of the things is that, right, so they have to film themselves teaching, and then they have to cut that down to the best 15 minutes, which when we're talking about accomplished teaching, identifying the best 15 minutes is pretty tough. But luckily, there's the coaches that they're allowed, they can kind of touch base with and talk about and work through the component with, and they can narrow down their best 15 minutes of instruction. And then May 1st, we're going to have another Saturday workshop where it's just going to be kind of an open house, and candidates will be able to come in, have some dedicated work time, dedicated workspace, and a little bit faster Wi-Fi that the school can provide before they upload their submissions. Submissions are due May 17th, so that May 1st date will be super helpful in them just being able to kind of process through their submission and make sure that they're ready to go with a couple of weeks to spare. And of course, nothing is real unless it's posted on Twitter. So here's our Twitter feed that just kind of continues to celebrate all of the great things that we're doing here in Deer Valley with our Deer Valley Network. All right, so Paula had talked already a little bit about this, where we really kind of set out 5 years ago to double our numbers. We had 15 NBCTs in the district at that time and only 2 candidates, one of which was Alexis. And you can see over the course of the last 5 years, we have continued to grow. But you might also notice that there's a little bit of a dip between the 21-22 school year and the 22-23 school year. And there's a lot of reasons for that attrition. Some of it is that we had teachers that accomplished, and so they're no longer candidates, and they're actually NBCTs. And then we also had some that moved out of district. There were a couple that actually achieved last year with our district, but because life happens, they took a leave from education, and so they're not reflected in these numbers anymore. The other thing is that we have some really big goals, right? So our biggest goal is that by 2027, we want to have 60 nationally board certified teachers or candidates. So in order for us to do that, by next year, we have to have 30 candidates in progress, and we need to make sure that we have 8 candidates that achieve and become nationally board certified teachers. We know that this is a big number, that this is a big goal, but we also figure, hey, if you're gonna shoot for the moon, might as well, right? And if nothing else, we definitely have stars in the district. And we believe so much in the process that we know that teachers are going to grow and become better, and students are going to be better because of these big numbers that we're trying to accomplish. This is super exciting for us. So if you look at this chart, the top number right there where it says Arizona, that's the number of NBCTs that achieved in the 21-22 cycle. So that means those are teachers that submitted their components in May of 2022. The bottom number are all the national numbers. So you can see how Arizona kind of compares to the national numbers. But the exciting thing is that when you count for what Deer Valley did, we are actually 5% of the total number of new NBCTs in Arizona. So across the state, we're really dominating in the state. And we're getting national recognition for the work that we're doing here. We are ranked 5th in the state overall, which is up from 7th in 2021. So we're pretty excited about that.
So one of the things that we like to do is look at our data. We feel this is really important because we specifically look at trends. We look at how we can reach out to different regions. And so what we do is track the different regions to the number of candidates and NBCTs. And we're able to see this information and share it in different venues. We feel really lucky that we are able to present here, and we're also able to present to the administrators for the district to share what it is we see to help inspire other regions to continue to work. It sometimes is easy to see that when there is a lot of enthusiasm about different people achieving or working on the process, that definitely speaks to the growth. We also see numbers fluctuate, and again, that has to do with a couple different things, which we'll talk about. But one of the things that is really exciting is that we are working to really be able to see how we can reach out to other teachers when other campuses want information about National Board, because really we could give somebody a presentation, but it's telling the story that helps to breathe life into what we're doing. So we definitely want to take a lot of the celebrations and hold tight to those, because we have a lot of different things that happen with our candidates or those who achieve. So we couldn't be more excited. And specifically, as Stephanie said, back in 2017, when Lissa Borchers, another Mountain Ridge teacher, and I were the only 2 candidates, we were just so excited about everything that we wanted to really continue to grow and do what we can so that others can feel a passion for what they're doing as well. So it's really exciting to see this. And what we've realized is the power of the story is overwhelmingly positive. And it's so exciting to see our teachers be able to go through the process and achieve and continue with that celebration.
All right, so as we continue to grow, we continue to develop these goals and plans for the future, and they all kind of stem around growing the network by retaining, recruiting, supporting, and teaching candidates all about the National Board Certification process, but also inspiring more teachers in the district to consider this process. Because we see so much impact for students and we see the benefit for schools long term, we really want to focus on recruiting and retention. So one of the ways that we look to do that is by reaching out to leadership. We know that when we think about kind of the profile of a nationally board certified teacher, they might not even recognize themselves how accomplished they are because they are naturally and kind of intuitively growth minded and reflective in their own practice, that they might not even recognize that they're perfect for this process. So we have to kind of ask the leadership at the school and district level to really pay attention to these teachers that are ready to kind of take this deep dive into their practice and reflect on what they're doing in the classroom. We also know, as Alexis has already mentioned, that it benefits the entire school. There's been lots of studies that have demonstrated that as teachers become nationally board certified, they end up taking on a larger leadership role in their schools and their communities, and they really become an advocate and a champion for the education profession overall. All right, we'd like to, of course, thank our sponsors. Because of the support that they provide us, we're able to provide greater support to our candidates. So the Deer Valley Network actually helps support MOC funding, and we pay for one component for each candidate. And we're able to do that because of our partnership with Discover and Deer Valley Education Foundation. Candidates are also eligible for payment through Arizona K-12 Center, and by completing a pre-candidacy course that we actually provide here in the district, they then become eligible for that scholarship. And so really, teachers are able to go through the entire process with, at times, $75 out of their own pocket, and that's it. There's a $75 registration fee that they are responsible for, but they can get the cost covered between AZ K-12 Center and the Deer Valley network that we are providing here in Deer Valley. So that being said, do you guys have any questions for us? Is there any more information you'd like to know?
Any questions, board members?
I just want to say it's very impressive, and I'm all about the data, so it's great that you can match up these teachers with the scores and the moving forward with the kids. So when you go through this process, do you learn that it's more about the student learning than the teacher teaching?
Yeah, so actually one of the things that we really focus on is this statement. We call it the because statement. Because I know, I do, which impacts students. And really getting teachers to think about that. So because I know my content, or because I know that next year students are gonna have to be able to divide fractions, I use manipulatives and I make sure that I have a tape diagram available for them. And that impacts my students because then they're able to better understand the concept because I've created a concrete application for them. So we look at it kind of more through this, this lens of because I know I do, which impacts students, and it helps to kind of facilitate that reflective practice in the teachers.
And just, go ahead.
I was just going to add too that the best part of going through the process is that it's not linear, it's cyclical. It's looking at what you've done. I'm kind of frightened to say the words, but it's very much a plan, do, study, act process. But it really truly is looking at where you start, where you're going, what you want to do differently. And so it's not something that you just show and say, look, it's how I am moving philosophically and helping bring learning alive for my students.
Does this have any effect? And you can think about this and bring it up at some other point, but or the question would be, I wonder what the effect would be in enriching or not PLCs. So thank you very much.
Thank you for giving our teachers the opportunity to have other open doors of being national certified. Yeah, one of my questions was with the funding, with especially, with teacher salary in Arizona. It would be fantastic, if it was promoted of, this was a free program, then teachers probably would be more, signing up to go through the process. Any other questions, board member?
I just want to commend you for everything that you're going through to achieve excellence through our educators. Obviously, the better prepared they are to go into the classroom, the better the results of students. And I just want to commend everybody for the extra effort, because I know it's a lot more work on top of everything that they're already doing. And their desire to succeed and then to bring that success to the classroom is very admirable, and we're very grateful to have those kind of committed individuals. I appreciate the goals that you have. I think that they're very attainable. Like you said, there's good reasons why we had the dip this last year. You can't really forecast for those. Those are just going to happen. But I think we'll hit it. And with folks like you steering the ship, I have no doubt that we'll be able to enjoy that success. So congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to district reports. Item B, FY24 Budget Committee Report, and this goes to Mrs.
Right. Let me get my cords in order here. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, guests remaining in person and online. I think last year I had the pleasure of following Alexis and Stephanie in the National Board Certified presentation, and I tried to do my best to keep up the enthusiasm that they have. I always enjoy listening to that presentation. We are going to talk this evening about the 23-24 Budget Committee. The purpose of the Budget Committee is to gather a representative group of stakeholders to review stakeholder data, develop budget priorities for all of us to consider as we move forward with developing the budget for the next school year. This really counts as the kickoff to the budgeting season, if there is such a thing, coming for the next school year. So we have, the committee is co-chaired by Mr. Migliorino and I. We have parents, district employees. We have members from Deer Valley Education Association, Deer Valley Education Support Professionals Association, our certified and our classified groups. The members from those groups have to be someone who's not already represented on a committee by them, not on NST. Speaking of DVEF and the wonderful work they do, Marie Brennan serves with us on this committee as well. We also have community partners. And the last couple of years, if we had more applicants for positions than what we typically would have, we would still allow them to come as alternates. And so we've never turned away a volunteer for the committee. We began meeting in December, and December is a fun meeting. That is the Finance 101 meeting, where committee members get a general overview and foundational understanding of school budgets and how budgets are established, especially the operational budgets in Arizona. The presentation that we adapted, Mr. Migliorino, I think, gets most of the credit for that, but it is from an Arizona Association of School Business Officials School Finance 101 presentation that lasts about 4 days, and we condensed the important parts down to about 2 hours. We do our best to give as much information as we can at that time. While that is happening, the first survey is going on, and we come back then after winter break in January and review information from the first survey, and then come back a month later approximately to review the data from the forced ranking, but we'll get into that a little bit more. As I stated, the first survey is a narrative survey. It goes out to all stakeholders. We send it out in direct mail to our parents and our staff members. We send it out in our Deer Valley Voice. We put it on our social media. We send it through our parent organization presidents. We share it with our interfaith. We share it with business partners listserv. We share it about every way that we can. And this is just a word cloud of the top responses from the narrative survey. The question basically asks the respondent to include what their representative stakeholder group is, and just to list what they believe for their group and them personally, what their top budget priority would be for next year, what they think we should focus on. And for the last couple years, it certainly has weighed highly towards salaries, but you can see here all of the different ways that our respondents included some sort of word for compensation or salaries or pay. And of course, the bigger the word is on the screen, that indicates the more times that it came up in the narrative responses. So here were some of the responses that we received from the survey. Overall, it was 1,531 responses. You can see that parents of a student were our #1 response group with 927 responses. Although on the left there, those who are both an employee and a parent, we had 198, I believe, and employees 351. And so the top themes that came up in no particular order were student support, student campus safety, and salaries, to include all of the words that we saw on the past word cloud: wages, compensation, increases. We saw responses that were specific to teachers, some were specific to all staff, some are specific to classified staff, and certainly that it be competitive, not just with our local school districts, but with similar positions in public as well. So the committee then on that second meeting in January took all of those responses to develop a forced ranking survey. And that survey was open for a little over a week, but in this case, we also added a direct text message to our stakeholders as well. And you can see here we received over 3,000 responses, and so we had a great response rate on the forced ranking survey. With the forced ranking survey, something that was a little different this time than what we've seen in the past is we actually had kind of two questions. Normally, the first forced ranking survey is one question. Here are the 5 recurring themes that came out from the narrative survey. Here are the 10, 5, 10, 7. We don't have a set number of items that we put on the question. We use that narrative feedback to tell us how many items that we need to put on that forced ranking survey. So if you will remember last year, we had 7 items on the survey. The year before, we had 10. And so how many of them we put out for ranking may depend on how many are in the survey. So the year that we had at least 10 items on that list, we asked respondents on the forced ranking to rank their top 5, knowing that the amount of funding that we have is limited. And we agree that we would like to solve all of those problems, but our budget usually doesn't give us the option to do that. And so that's why we look at just maybe the top 5. Last year, with only 7 questions on the survey, we said, what the heck, let's see how they feel about all 7 of them. We felt that was important. This year, what was different was that salaries and wages was the #1 response regardless of stakeholder group. And so the committee, looking at that data, felt that it was really important. And also knowing that the AEL was still up in the air at this time. Remember, this is in January, early February. The legislature had not corrected the AEL for this year yet. The committee wondered if the salary increases that would be implemented when the AEL was lifted, if that would be enough. They certainly knew that it was a big step toward those salaries. And so they kind of wanted to see what the next highest ranking priorities were after salary. And so our first question was specific to salaries, and we had 3 questions to rank on there. And I think this did cause some confusion for folks who were taking the survey, but it's based on that narrative input. because one question was salaries for all, one question was salaries for certified, and one question was salaries for classified. And so I just want to remind everyone who's watching, and certainly governing board, that those were the results that we received from the narrative survey. But with those over 3,000 responses, here is some of the data. And so this is what we really look at then when it comes to writing the budget priorities for next school year. These first couple slides will show the budget priority forced rank from the forced ranking based on all stakeholders. So you can see here that this is the salary question. You can see the 3 different iterations of it, and that provide a uniform salary increase for all staff came out as the number one priority, the top priority for combining all of the stakeholder groups together. Certainly, if you look at providing a higher percentage of increases for recruitment and retention of certified staff, it wasn't too far behind, but for all staff definitely came out as the top. These are the other 5 questions that we asked individuals to rank on what would be their top budget priority. Decreased student to staff ratio came out as the greatest priority. And if you're looking at the data as well, the greatest priority is number 1. And so when we're looking at these numbers, the lower the number, the more important it was to those who took the survey. Anything with a higher number would be lower on the list. So coming in at second was student and school safety, followed by increasing academic supports, followed by social emotional supports for students, and the 5th response was enhancing special programs. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Miglorino talk about the group specifically, because he definitely speaks better to that than I do.
President Papervin, members of the board, Dr. Finch. I did want to just start by recognizing Dr. Smith. He helps us with the survey and all the analytics. And by giving him at least recognition here, we can also blame him for any of the data too. I'm just kidding, of course. But one of the things that the committee did is, in trying to determine the priorities, they had to look at the data in more granular ways. And so Dr. Finch asked us, specifically Dr. Smith, to provide a little more data to the committee. And so we broke it down by stakeholder group. And that's the data that you see here for the first question. We did not charge extra for adding 2 survey questions into the forced ranking. Actually, there was no charge for the survey. I'm joking again. But so you could see how there was a higher propensity for a salary increase for our certified staff amongst our parents. But if you look at all the rest of the groups, the higher propensity was for a uniform salary increase for all. And even the parent group had the uniform salary increase fairly highly ranked relative to the classified. I don't think that we read too much into this, that the classified is less important than the other groups because it is a forced ranking survey. So we made sure that we weren't pitting the groups against each other. It was really, if it needed to be a disproportionate increase, where should we target those dollars? And that was the intention from the committee input for this question. The next slide looks at the second question, if you will, the 5 priorities, and again by employee group, so you can see where the differences are. Not a lot of differences. Again, decrease the student to staff ratio was the highest ranked amongst all of the employee groups. And you can see how this kind of heat map idea plays out for the rest of the questions and the groups. In addition to looking at just the raw data that you see here, which are the averages from the forced ranking scores, the committee also looked at the comments and the additional information that was gathered from the narrative to be able to come up with the actual priorities themselves. We looked at highest counts as well, just the counts of top number one priorities, top three priorities, just to see if there were any anomalies within the data, and there really weren't. So again, just trying to validate the results, and again, thanks to Dr. Smith for his help with that. And then again, looking at the count of priority number ones or any of the top three for the second question. And again, no difference there. You see decrease the student to staff ratio is the highest ranking amongst all the various groups. So with that, I think I might turn it back over to Ms. Mock just because of the work that she's done in actually the development of the priorities themselves from the committee.
Thank you. So for our third and final meeting in February, we reviewed the data that Mr. Migliorino just went through. And the committee, who surprises me every year, I get to work with different parents and different staff members, and the thoughtfulness that they put into these recommendations. And these, unlike what we saw on one of the earlier slides, these are in order of importance. And this was based on all of the input that Mr. Migliorino mentioned, including the additional, even when we have the forced ranking survey, we give all of the respondents one more chance to put in any additional information or add anything else. And so it was all of that together that came into this recommendation. When we finished on February 2nd, we had a rough draft, and Mr. Migliorino and I worked to put it in a more formal format. We did some digital communication with the committee after that, and by February 14th, we had this final draft. And so our budget priorities for the 23-24 school year should be to fund competitive salary and benefit packages for the retention of all existing employees, continued focus on school safety to include physical safety, physical campus security, as well as staffing to have appropriate personnel to effectuate a safe environment for our students and staff. And I think it's important to mention here that there was great discussion about that item as well. We see safety repeatedly from year after year. The committee did believe that some of the comments that they saw related to safety were a result of the vacancies that we are seeing, and that some of the feel of campuses not being safe right now are because we are not attracting or retaining the staff that we have, whether it be custodians or teachers. And so that's why that's written a little different than what we've seen in the past. If you look at that maybe 3 to 5 years ago, any comment on safety may have been specific to the physical safety of the campus. The next priority is to ensure recruitment practices are targeted to fill vacancies, include a competitive salary and benefit package for new hires. Again, the reason that that is number 3 on the bullet list was very specific by the committee for all of the reasons that I just stated. Next, we need to, they recommend develop strategies to address the concerns of the student to staff ratio by reconvening the student teacher ratio support team, or the STARS work team, with a report from this team by no later than December 15th, 23. Now, I believe the STARS work team came from the Budget Committee recommendation 2 years ago. And the team did meet, and we reviewed data from our comparable school districts, other averages, and it was determined that Deer Valley really isn't out of what would be considered the norm for our area, but it's very clear based on the responses that we got on the survey that that's not known, or maybe there are specific instances where additional help might need to be provided. So whether it's I think the example that comes up most often is let's talk about freshman math in high school. Most freshmen take Algebra 1, 2, and so even though a teacher for their contacts for the day wouldn't be over their contacts, a specific class for high school could have 40 or more students in it. And so the Budget Committee felt that it was important that the STARS work team get back together and make sure that whatever information, whether it's some targeted enhancements for things like that, that be addressed, and also to make a report out so that it's more widely known what we already do, such as adding aides to classes that trigger late in the school year, at the K-6 level that might not get a teacher. All of that might not be widely known, and so maybe we can do a better job of communicating the things we do and refine some of the things that we don't have in practice yet. And finally, the last bullet item is to focus on providing academic supports for students in addition to classroom instruction. So I think this goes to address perhaps some of the learning loss that we've seen in the last couple of years. And so it was from the narrative input, we took that out as tutoring, academic interventions, remediations, and maybe more instructional time. And before I turn it over for questions, I just want to make sure that we are giving thanks to all of our committee members. They did an absolutely wonderful job, and we couldn't have done it without them. So giving up their evenings for us is very much appreciated. And actually, I think this was the first year as well that there were no requests for wordsmithing. Everyone just came back, yep, it looks great. So I think that was attributable to the work that the committee did, and that we just had great, clear thoughts expressed when we had our time together. I'll take any questions.
Any questions, Governing Board, Ms. Orway?
I would like to give a special shout out to Dr. Smith because I know that you helped because it wasn't in gym font and we could read it. And there were colors that were different than brown. Anyway, what are the next steps and a time frame for them?
Mrs. Ordway, President Paperman, one of the first next steps in our 23-24 budget development will be later on the agenda, where Mr. Miglarino will be presenting the recommendation from the Benefit Committee. Our NST, or our Negotiated Solution Team, continues to meet each month, and that team is working on looking at our financial information and our predictions for our budget next year to see what we might be able to recommend as far as a salary. And I see a couple of our NST members here in the audience. I think those are some of the biggest steps that we will see here. And one of our steps, of course, is waiting for the legislature. We know that we will have 2% increase to our base support level. We just don't know what else may come out of the legislative session, if anything. And so we continue to add those assumptions and those knowns in as we receive them. But the good thing is that the AEL was lifted for this school year. So one of the things we've already done moving forward for next school year is those salary increases that are going to go into effect and be added to the base salary of all the staff members for any increases that we will have next year. And I had one more thought on next steps. I don't know if Jim has any others. But all of those, of course, we will present reports here to the governing board and ask for approval. And
I've got one
those
more
are the big
thing.
ones. Yeah.
The progress is being put on our website.
Correct. And if there's anything specific that's requested on the website, we're more than happy to put it on there. We, all of the budget committee information is on the committee's page. It has been updated to include the budget priorities, all of the PowerPoint presentations that the committee reviewed. And then as we get drafts of the budget, we do put that on Budget 411 as well.
Okay, thank you.
Stephanie? No. Mr. Carver?
If this is the wrong time, please stop me. But I was reminded of this thought when we were discussing recruitment practices. And I've been informed since my time on the board that it's a general practice that when an educator wants to move districts, regardless of the number of years they have at the district, start over again with 5 at the district that they go to. And I'm wondering if in the recruitment phase, if we might be bucking the trend in the state, I get it, but a good teacher's worth their weight in gold. And I'm wondering if we've been able to adjust our pay scales, because I understand that's got away from honoring years of service. Are we in a position now where we can offer to give credit for more than 5? If a teacher has 15, can we give them 10? Is there anything like that, or is this not the time for that?
Mr. Carver, that is a great question. Mrs. I'm sure Mrs. Moffat's not here, but where's she? Oh, she's right there. I'm used to her being back there. Mrs. Moffat, I don't know if she wants me to speak to it or if she wants to, but she's actually working on that. That was the other part that I forgot to mention about the budget is Mrs. Moffat's working with the other group, the NST group, on the language. And so that is language in our certified manual. And yes, actually, it is something that they are looking at right now.
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, that is something that we are considering this time, and you are correct that most districts honor at the minimum of at least 5 years of service, and they each value that year of service at a different rate. So we have collected information from our peer districts on what they currently do. So some offer different rates, some might give 5 where they give 10 in a harder to fill area, or they will give 10 across the board. So we're coming up with a proposal right now, and Heather and Jim work on the cost of what that proposal would be, and it would likely be wrapped in to our proposal for next year.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Mrs. Fisher?
Years ago, when we established or started the budget committee, we had talked about possibly having, and this is something I've done in the past, having the last meeting of the budget committee and the last meeting of NST come together so that you're sure you have a full consensus. Has there been any more thought to doing that? Would that benefit us to do that?
I would say that Mr. Migliorino has more of the history than I do, but for the time frames, we won't have the recommendations from NST till further along the budget cycle, and we like to have the priorities at the start of the cycle, and those really are based on stakeholder feedback versus reality. And I think what NST works with is the reality of what resources we will have for the next school year, and these priorities are really our stakeholders' dream big list, what you need fixed. And so then we just go through that process to see what resources we have in order to be able to address those.
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, I might just echo those same sentiments. I think there are 2 different timelines and maybe 2 different purposes. One is maybe just the priorities themselves, which we share with the NST group so that they understand that the more global input that we get from the budget committee is part of the work that the NST works on, which is more specific to what we are proposing to implement for the upcoming year. So I think the reason that it's the timing is in the order that it's in is to be able to make sure that the budget committee priorities are addressed in the specific nature of the recommendations that we're bringing forth through the other committees.
So we're still only using the committee for just priorities, correct? They're not
Correct.
going through the full budget cycle with you?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So I would like to have a clarification because I did read the Friday updates from Dr. Finch. I just want to make sure that when we're voting with budgeting and salary, that we're also supporting, administration. Yes, we're supporting teachers and classify. So I just want clarification of this statement. Maybe you can give me the clarification for this. So Dr. Finch stated the negative with the rise in teacher pay being twice as fast as administration. It creates compression and discourage staff from becoming administrators in DVUSD and unintended consequences. So do we have this problem in Deer Valley that it's hard to retain our administration because our teachers are having a higher salary or pay as an administrator?
President Paperman, it indeed is an issue on both sides, meaning for our current administration who have worked, let's say, as a principal or as an assistant principal for many years, who have not seen the same pay increases that our teachers have for a variety of reasons, whether it be a DVUSD decision or a state decision. Their rate of increase at times have caused certified staff to move over the base salary or even over some of our current administrators' salaries. So for them, that is a pain point. It also has been, on a handful of occasions, a pain point for our current teachers who are wanting to move into an administration, and the base salary of that administrative position is lower than their current earnings. Or there's barely a difference. And if you think of the days required to work too, that can be stressful when as a teacher you're asked to work 186 days, but as a 10-month employee you're asked to work, I don't even remember how many days, Jim always knows, 226. You're asked to work 226 days, but your rate of pay is going to be equal or less. All of those scenarios have come up. As difficult things to manage. So the pay increase that the board did approve earlier this year was very helpful with the $7,500 applied to the base of administration. That does pull certified and administrative apart. But that is something that we have to always pay attention to when we're applying pay increases, and that would be true in every employee group.
Well, I'm just asking this question because, I was a teacher for 21 years, and it took me 15 years to even be in the 50 range. So if from my experience, if you're going to be making in the 60, the teachers put that time and effort to make that amount. And yes, maybe some teachers, if they're getting their master's or getting other credits to move on their salary, they work hard for it. Then they deserve to get that pay. Also looking at the teacher retention, it's to me, it's okay if a teacher is putting all those years of their life to be paid as an administrator, and it's their choice if they want to go into an administrator position. So my point is, I don't want the committee coming to negotiate money, keeping in mind, we're going to have to give our teachers a 1% or 2% because we got to, make sure that our administrations are going to be getting, higher salary. This needs to be transparency across the board. Yes, we need to, support all of our staff, but we need to have transparency across the board. If the teachers are putting the years and they're getting more education that they deserve to get what they have. Another question that I have is on the survey, because it says salary for all, and I know Dr. Finch has stated that in the past. So who created the survey? Was this just the district or was this with a committee?
President Paperman, this was the committee. So we started with a narrative, basically a blank slate. And so the stakeholders who responded to the narrative input survey provided all of the information that the committee then used. And so it was based on that stakeholder input.
Okay, thank you. And one more thing. So you meet the December 8th, January 12th, February 2nd. Is there an open door policy that the public can come and see what's happening? Or even during the board retreat, I stated, can the governing board sit there, to watch the process instead of just looking at a beautiful PowerPoint? I would like to see the discussion that's happening in the committee.
President Paperman, yes, it is an official district committee, which means it is open to the public. Okay. And the dates and times are typically posted on the website. During COVID years, we did go through Zoom, but we will reconvene next fall, and the meetings and times will be posted and open and available to anyone who wants to view the committee.
Thank you, and please keep this communication with the board because this will be a great experience to if we take our time to see the process and the discussion that happens during a budget committee. Thank you. So we're going to move on. Do we have any public comments? No comments? Okay, so we don't have any public comments. We're going to move on to old business. Item A, approve 2023-2024 Deer Valley Unified School District Pathway Calendar.
I move that the governing board approve the 2023-2024 DVUSD pathways calendar.
Second.
As recommended.
Oh, sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any that oppose say nay. Aye. So 4 votes? Oh, no votes? Okay.
Haven't popped up yet.
Okay, nothing.
You have one now.
Okay. 5-0. Okay, thank you. We're going to move to item B, approve recommendation contract language for certified administrator exams and deputy superintendent for the 2023-2024 school year.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the contract language for certified administrative exempt and deputy superintendent for the 2023-2024 school year.
All those in favor, oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any that oppose say nay. Aye.
Aye.
Mine didn't pop. Oh, okay. Item C, approve governing board policy GCQC resignation of professional support staff members.
I move that the governing board approve policy GCQC resignation of professional support staff members as recommended.
All those in
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any that oppose say nay. Oh, there's discussion. Oh, there's a presentation for this? Okay.
Just if there were questions, I loaded the presentation again so I could reference the slides. There are no changes made to the former presentation, and we are recommending the policy as it is presented to you 2 weeks ago.
Any questions, board? Ms. Fisher?
Same question I asked you at the last meeting, but I didn't ask it publicly. Any pushback, any concerns? I mean, I know it's come like several times. I'm not concerned about it because I know that it can then go through the process to waive it. But I also want to make sure that our staff had, because we're very vocal in the past about it. Anything?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, I think that any concerns have been more situational, quite honestly, and not broad like they were last time. And I think that's because people are now experiencing the pain of vacancies and the pain that can occur when someone does leave their position and doesn't fulfill their obligation. And so I think that there's more understanding because of that. But there are more questions about the what ifs. What about this scenario? Would this be a condition in which an employee would be required to pay, or might they be allowed not to pay? And so the policy really covers all of those what ifs.
Yeah, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Aye. Passes 5. Okay. Okay, 5. Okay. Next, we are moving to consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move the governing board approve consent agenda 6A through 6G.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Aye. We are moving to action item number 7, approve employee professional development out of state. Are there any presentation for this item? Any questions?
I move that the governing board approve all employee professional development out of state per governing board policy GCCE.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose say nay. Aye. Moving on to item B, approve addenda pre-approval.
I move that the governing board accept administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Aye. We are moving to preview items. Our first preview item is preview a school year 2023-2024 governing board meeting dates. Does this go to Dr. Finch?
Sure. It's similar to what we just discussed at our retreat. These are the corresponding dates for next year that would be parallel to this year and in the corresponding months. And then the additional concept of adding 4 quarterly study sessions, I guess we would call them, to be scheduled on Tuesday evenings. And so there'd be 4 additional meetings that we currently don't have scheduled this year into next year to design it. So our events could be put on the calendars and board members could be adjust to the schedule. And also we would push reports into those meetings rather than, and make our regular meetings more in the business orientation. So that's the recommendation. It's a preview, and so if you have any questions or concerns or anything you want to us to look into, we have a couple weeks to hear from you. Or next week. Yeah, that's right. We're having lots of meetings.
Any questions, governing board?
I just, we have May 28th down. I'm trying to do a calendar in my head, but is that going to be Memorial Day? I believe May 28th. Oh, thank you. I was having a senior moment there. Appreciate it. It's a hard night for me.
I saw a gallon of milk that was expired February 30th today, so.
So I'm in company.
It's not unusual. Yeah, all our board meetings are on Tuesday.
Our next preview item is B, preview the 2023-2024 Certified Performance Pay Plan.
President Paperman and members of the governing board, it's my pleasure to present as a preview item the 23-24 Certified Performance Pay Plan. Maybe. It's coming up here. Awesome. So just a little bit of background, and I can present this. I don't present this every year, but I want to make sure there was enough information for new board members to understand where we're coming from. This plan and these funds are motivated by the Classroom Site Fund from Prop 301 passed 22 years ago now, which created a small sales tax dedicated to public education. And you'll see in some of the legislation that the board is responsible for adopting the plan specific to the certified employees. However, Prop 301 expired a couple of years ago and has since been modified and renewed by legislation, changing the number of funds from 3 to 2 and including student support services and other professional staff as part of the employees that can receive the funds. And there might have been some other unintended consequences of them doing this through legislation. I'm sorry, just kidding. But as a result, the fund is still there and it's good for our certified employees. This is the performance pay committee members, As you can see, it's 4 teachers, 4 administrators, and 3 parents, fully staffed as per the committee form. And myself and Christy Bushnell from HR help facilitate the process of the performance pay. I do have a couple of members of this committee in the audience, and just wanted to tell them I appreciate them, 1, being on the committee, and 2, coming to the meeting tonight to support this presentation. The charge of the committee basically is to develop and then manage a plan. By development, that means we need to understand the state law. We need to, what the governing board direction is. We need to then construct and document a plan, and then make sure we can calculate everything that we're saying we're going to do, and finally bring it to you, the governing board, to get approval. By manage, it's basically communication of the plan, getting all the data together, actually calculating the results, and we also appoint a subcommittee to hear appeals, and then finally ensure payment get to teachers, of course, with the help of payroll and benefits department. Here's our norms of our committee. Basically, you can read them, but I go to the third one there, which is we make decisions by consensus. We try to all support the decisions we make, and we all help implement those decisions where possible or where we can contribute. The committee is basically influenced by these 3 big areas: the plan, history, legislation, and of course board direction. So I'm going to give you 1 year of history, and I'm only giving you one because it's been relatively similar, if not exactly the same, for several years now. There are 3 components in this year's plan. So I'm bringing you next year's plan as a preview item. This is this year's 22-23 Certified Performance Pay Plan. It's made up of 50% of the plan is made up of evaluations, 25% of responsibility and professional development hours, and then 25% of the district letter grade. The background of the legislation for the plan, this first Law 15-203 is basically outlines the teacher evaluation instrument, telling us that we would have a highly effective developing and ineffective ratings for teachers. I don't have anything to do with this part of it. I just want to note that it happens, of course, with a lot of our other employee groups and specific employees at the district. Arizona Revised Statute 15-977 is the core piece of the legislation that drives how we can use the classroom site fund. This first subsection A, I'm trying to highlight that it has to be used to supplement employee pay, not supplant employee pay. Subsection B, here's where you come in, first of all. Here's where it's required that the governing board must adopt a performance-based compensation system. And that's why we're previewing it tonight, to be adopted later. And it's also important to notice here, and that's why I talked about teacher evaluations in the first law, that individual teacher performance shall be a component of this plan. So those 2 things together help motivate pieces of the plan that we put together. This lists some other things that should be in the plan. Subsection C, interesting wording, says a school district governing board shall vote on a performance-based compensation system. That includes the following, and you can read the list of things on there, everything from student input to parent input to teacher votes to other measures of academic performance, et cetera, et cetera. But there's 12 specific items listed in subsection C. An important piece of the legislation, subsection E, that we do leverage, and I believe, if not all, almost all school districts in the state leverage, is the fact that the governing board may modify the elements contained in subsection C and consider additional elements when adopting this compensation system. I'm going to go back a page real quick. I've been hard put to find any district, again, that utilizes all 12 of these items in their plan. And finally, this final 15-978 just says, if you don't use all the money, you roll it over to next year and put it in the same pot, which we do. But we also have a plan, and have for several years, that uses virtually all the money till we don't have enough to pay one more penny to every teacher. So if I had 2,000 teachers, the most I'd have left over is $19.99, and then I'd roll that over to the next year. So here is the proposed 23-24 certified performance pay plan. First of all, I'll let you know we had 4 different meetings with parts of the committee. We had full committee meeting on January 19th, but some parents couldn't make it. I then met with 2 parents to kind of where we came to, and then 1 other parent in a separate meeting, and then we pulled everybody back together on February 23rd to get a consensus vote. And we're here before you tonight for a governing board preview. So this is going to look familiar, these 3 components that we have in the plan for next year's performance pay plan. Again, evaluations 50%, responsibility 25%, and school letter grades 25%. I'll explain each of them briefly to give you more clarity. Here's the evaluation piece. Again, it's 50% of the amount of money that's paid for the teacher performance pay. We use our teacher evaluation in our OASIS system, and we use the first 6 standards. There are 7 standards on that evaluation. The 7th standard is a student learning objective or the teacher goal. We don't use that. We use the first 6 standards, and we calculate it based by assigning a point value of 4 for highly effective down to 1 for ineffective. So there's highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective. Then I take the average of the 6 standards and I apply the matrix down below, which says they get 100% of this pot, this bucket, if they have 2.8 or above. And then you can read the other cuts, 2.6 for 85%, 2.4 for 60. If they're below 2.4 on average, they do not get any of this pot. There is an ineligibility condition in this plan. It says basically if you get an ineffective or 4 or more developing ratings, you are not eligible. But just for this component of the plan, just for the evaluation component, you could still be eligible for the other 2 components. Here's some quick examples, of 3 possible ratings as teachers got. You can see that in order to go down to the 85% payout level, there would have to be at least 2 developings for the teacher, and that's if they had 3 effectives. If they had any highly effectives, they could have 1 more developing. So it'll drop them, but you'd have to have some performance that is really questionable to drop down to the 85 or 60% level. Responsibility or professional development hours, again, is 25%. We're asking in the plan that teachers have 20 total hours of either professional responsibility or professional development. These hours are obtained outside of their normal work days, hours that they are not paid for. They agree with the principal what the hours will be and what they count. We do have a template that they can log their hours. It's on the HR portal page. And at the end of the year, I asked the principal, did this teacher do these hours? And it's a yes or no thing. So, excuse me, you either get this component or you don't get it, the 100% of this 25%. However, we do prorate these hours for time and job at FTE. For example, if you're a 0.5 employee, you only need 10 hours for the year. Or if you came on January 1st and only here half the year, you only need 10 hours for the year, et cetera, et cetera. Finally, school letter grades. This is driven by the state accountability system and the letter grades all of our schools receive. Basically, what we're saying here, we're going to look at the whole district at all the schools, say every school got a letter grade. I need at least 70% of them to be an A or B in order to get 100% of this payout. So what this says to me also is every teacher will receive the same amount for this component. Either every teacher will get 100%, every teacher will get 75%, or every teacher will get 0. In order for us to drop down to 75%, what is it, Jim? We'd have to have 12 schools. We'd have to have 12 schools, I think, get a C or lower, which then I'm probably out of a job. This component does have some consequences, though. It does cause 2 payouts. The first 2 components we know by the end of the school year, so by the end of May, and we can have a payout in early or second week of June. This component we don't know until we get the state letter grades from accountability, and usually that happens, well, I don't say usually anymore. It happened pretty late last year. We were in November before we paid this. Usually we can do this in early October if we get those state letter grades back. There is an appeal process component to the plan, but only for the evaluation component. An employee can submit appeal within a certain time frame for the evaluation based on process only. So if they feel there was a process violation in their evaluation, then they can submit an appeal, and the appeal committee that we talked about earlier would hear the appeal. It takes a majority of the appeal committee to uphold the appeal. Appeal committee is made up of 3 certified employees and 2 administrators. School letter grades and the hours are not appealable. Once those letter grades are final, there's no process to appeal that. There are some ineligibility conditions for the entire performance pay plan, and you can read them here. Former level of discipline, termination in lieu of discipline, non-renewal for inadequate performance, or abandoning your contract. The prorated pay, we talked a little bit about it on the hours piece. We prorate the number of hours you need. We also prorate the pay based on time and position and FTE. And then the last bullet is important because we do not penalize the time away from your job for FMLA. So if an employee comes back after 12 weeks of FMLA, they're still eligible for 100% of the performance pay. And I plan to bring this back in a week now for approval. I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Mrs. Orwin?
Just an observation, impeccable job as usual. You have great committee members.
Thank you.
Stephanie? Mr. Carver?
So for my education, please. So this part of the teacher's pay is, as we mentioned, paid out 2 different times because of when the grades come in. So is it an artificial inflation of their pay scale so that they don't get dinged as a bonus, or does it get taxed as a bonus?
I am going to ask Mr. Miglerino to answer that question.
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, so we process it as a separate pay, but not as a bonus for tax purposes.
Good, thank you. Just want to make sure they're getting as much of it as they could.
Mrs. Fisher?
You already answered the question, so forgive me asking it again. It's just that the language changed on the, I don't know what number slide this is, but you have school letter grades 25%, but it is really district letter grades we're going off of, correct? Because you answered it a couple slides later.
Well, President Paperman, I don't know. Sorry, Ms. Fisher. I guess I think of it as school letter grades. I've taken every school letter grades. I got 40 of them. I'll have 41 of them this year. I'll only have 40 because you don't get a letter grade for your first years of school. And I say how many of them are A's and B's, and divide that by 40. So every school's letter grades counts, but a tiny 1/40th proportion.
But it's still an average. I just want to make sure that the same thing I've always wanted to make sure is that our schools that are more challenging to teach at aren't penalized for that purpose. So they'll all get the same no matter what.
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, that's correct. Every teacher will get the same amount for this component.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Thank you for the performance pay. I know, when I was in the classroom, that's something that every teacher looks forward to. Do we have retention stipends? I know other districts probably, like I spoke to a few teachers that they get $5,000 for retention stipend. Do we have anything to that to retain our teachers?
President Paperman, I am going to let Jim Miglerino talk to that.
President Paperman, we have in the past done longevity stipends and things of that nature, but we have not recently done in terms of retention compensation for employees. We have, as was shared previously, we have allocated additional monies as they become available. Most specifically, our employees are going to enjoy payment on Thursday of this week for the aggregate expenditure limit being lifted. That is a significant one-time payment for employees. We didn't call it a retention stipend, but it is for all employees that were active as of the day the AEL was resolved, which ended up being February 8th. So we didn't label it as a retention stipend, but it could be considered as one.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to let you know that there's grants for retention stipends if we apply for them. So, just, to make sure that we retain our teachers. Thank you. We're going to move to the next item. C, preview proposed FY24 employee benefits recommendation.
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we do have, as a preview item tonight, the benefit recommendation for next year. The very first slide, as it's getting loaded, has the benefit committee members. I did want to recognize them. Some of them are in attendance for their commitment to helping with the benefit recommendation. There is a lot of information that the benefit work team looks at, and I'll just say it's not commonplace to what their normal job would be. Very few people look at actuarial or underwriting data, but we look at it all. It's sometimes, especially for new members, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So we try and take as much time as necessary to make sure everybody feels comfortable with the data. I did recognize the committee members that you see on the slide now for their commitment to this, not just the amount of time that we met as a group, but all of the learning that took place. It's like a whole nother vocabulary when we start talking about some of the details. Also in the box in the lower right corner, representatives from Valley Schools and Brown & Brown, who is our underwriter, were also present at all of these meetings. Actually, Brown & Brown did not make the last meeting. They had a conflict, but here are the three meetings. We met back in November looking at historical data, how we ended the previous year, how the beginning of the new year started. We started looking at additional information after the initial renewal was released at our February 1st meeting. We had some electronic correspondence in between and developed a recommendation on the February 22nd meeting, and have a recommendation that we want to share with the board this evening. I think some of the background, just general information I wanted to share. This is in no way intended to be a complete list of all of the information that we looked at, but our current experience ratio is running at 107%, meaning that for every dollar we reserve for claims, we're spending $1.07. That's usually not what you would hope for. You're looking for an experience ratio under 100%. And we've had some good years. This happens to be the alternative to that in terms of what we're experiencing. That cost alone is almost $2 million. And one of the things that we also took into consideration is the reserves that we have. We are self-insured, meaning that all of our claim dollars go into a trust at Valley Schools. They are retained for the sole purpose of paying future claims. We've had better years than the year that we're currently in, and so we have built up a reserve of just over $14 million with a 25% minimum operating reserve for any run out that we would experience. I did include kind of a 5-year history of the benefit recommendation that you can see here. Going back to 1819, at the bottom there, we had a just over 8% annual increase in the renewal. We actually took a 5.6% increase that the employer paid and made plan design changes to be able to offset the additional percentage to make up the 8%. In 1920, again, a 13% renewal. 6% picked up by the employer. We made plan design changes. When I say plan design changes, those are typically out-of-pocket expenses to the employees. Those can be co-payments, deductible changes, or just overall provider changes like narrowing the network, for example. But then we had some good years, right? 2021, 21, 22, zeros across the board. And in 22, 23, the current year, we had a 1.75% increase. We picked up the the employer, picked up the 1.75. The employees did not realize that. So I would say from this data, there's been 3 years that the employees have seen a zero cost increase for employee coverage. If they have dependent coverage, obviously it'd be a little bit different scenario for them because they would have had a portion of that 1.75% in 22, 23. So we took that information and kind of came up with the recommendation. This is the narrative of that. To be able to pull this information out, I kind of bolded where some of the changes are. But essentially what this says is that we had an 8.06% renewal. Again, that is comprised of the 107% experience ratio, plus medical inflation as well as pharmaceutical inflation on top of that. So that's a $1.9 million expense. But in lieu of taking that $1.9 million expense, the benefit committee came up with these recommendations that will include an additional contribution from M&O for this year of $700,000 and a use of the $2 million of the $14 million in reserves that I mentioned previously, and a couple plan design changes that I'll highlight that are called out here in the bold sections of this narrative. So increasing the employee contribution for the option to elect the PPO plan from $20 to $40 a month. There was a great deal of discussion about this particular item. And as a result, this one item, we were not able to get a unanimous vote from the benefit work team. The hangup was not that there shouldn't be an increase for this group, but that how much the increase should be. So some of the committee wanted to see an increase from $20 to $35, but the vast majority of the committee was okay with a $20 to $40 increase. That's per month. Those are for employees hired before July 1st of 2012. For those employees hired on 7/1 of 2012 or later, they currently pay $150 a month for the same plan. And because of input from the governing board at previous years, most notably the last year, of how big that difference was, $20 versus $150, we are recommending to reduce that to $100 a month. Again, this is a choice that employees make to elect the PPO coverage, but the difference was so great, the difference between the $20 and the $150 a month, that, and this was put in place many years ago. There's a whole history behind that. I'll spare everybody those details this evening, but again, because of input from not only the board and the committee about retaining employees and the cost of coverage, it was the intention to try and reduce that cost for a significant population that is electing the PPO plan. Had to make a small change on the deductible for the high deductible plan. That was to conform to the IRS rules, so it went from $2,800 on the single or employee coverage to $3,000. Again, that's just conforming with the IRS rules. And other changes include the, which is supposed to be highlighted, but it's actually gray here, is that the life coverage, the district paid life coverage was increasing 5%. Again, that's a benefit that we offer to our employees. And if the employees voluntarily elect for short-term disability, that is increasing 5%. Most of the other benefits, whether that's dental, other voluntary coverages, did not change from the current year that we're in. The other change that I think is significant is the benefit committee or work team did approve adding non-benefited employees to our Well Styles program. This is our health and productivity team. And There's a small cost associated with that. Non-benefited, meaning those that don't qualify for our health insurance benefit. And I think when we did this math, it was about 720 employees don't work enough hours to qualify for this benefit, but yet they might benefit from being able to join our wellness program, which is tagged or labeled with the WellStyles label. And then finally, the ASRS contribution, which we don't actually set, but we do consider it as a forced savings account benefit, is what I like to tell our employees, because our employees have to contribute to that if they qualify, and then the employer actually has to match that as well. That is increasing, again, is set by the Arizona State Retirement System, not by us, but it is increasing slightly from 12.17 to 12.29. And the alternative contribution rate increasing from 9.68 to just under 10 at 9.99. So those are the major changes. And again, just wanted to thank the people that helped develop this. Some of these discussions can become a little bit heated or emotional because we are affecting a great deal of people's livelihood. When we're talking about the benefit package, many of our employees work almost exclusively just for the benefits that we offer. It has been known by the committee, not only the benefit work team, but also NST, that our benefit costs are a little bit higher as a percentage of salary than our comparable districts, but that is a conscious decision that we make, knowing that there is enough value in that to be able to help our employees. So with that, it is just a preview item. We do intend to bring it back, and unfortunately, due to the nature of the board meeting schedule, we're bringing it back on a little bit of short order, which will be next week at March 7th. The March 7th board meeting. Part of that is so that we can prepare the open enrollment process so that our employees can make informed decisions about which plans they would like to elect for next year before we get in the difficult end of the year rush that happens, end of the school year rush, I should add. And I'll be happy to answer any questions or defer them to others, as I've had happen to me.
Any questions, Governing Board? Mrs. Fisher. Oh, Mrs. Fisher. You have a shovel? Okay, Mr. Carver.
I just want to make sure I understand what you just explained. So we're going to realize a cost of $2.7 million for the plan, and out-of-pocket costs for PPO folks will still rise in order to not pass any of it on to the employees. Is that correct? Is that what I'm saying?
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, yes. So 2.7 is the total cost of this. And if you look at the $1.9 million at the top, obviously that's greater because it's a portion of that is wrapped up in the savings for the post-2012 hires, going from $150 to $100. So in total, the employee contribution for the entire medical cost is going down, even though about half of the population in the PPO is going from $20 to $40. The other half is going down from $150 to $100. So we're gaining $20 from a portion of the PPO, but we're losing $50 from employees. So the net impact to employees on the PPO plan in total, right, not just by employee, is a decrease. And I believe it's in the neighborhood of $235,000 total.
And so just so I understand, the $700,000 is going to be the additional requirement out of the M&O funding in order to maintain this. And from $14 million in our reserves with Valley Schools, we're going to effectively be at $12 million in order to put this plan in place, right? Because we're going to take $2 million out of Valley Schools and an additional $700,000 out of M&O in order to offer them this.
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, yes, that is what is being proposed in this recommendation, and it is included in the preliminary budget projection that Ms. Mock has created for the NST to review. well. So the $700,000.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Fisher?
Okay, the 107%, is that an average of all, one specific?
I'm sorry, your mic cut out just.
Seven, is the 107% of our experiences, is that an average of all groups? Or is that any specifics? Is COBRA included in that as well?
Yeah, Ms. Paperman, or President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, yes, the 107 is an average. If you look at Cobra specifically, which is a very small percentage, it would probably be in the neighborhood of 300% experience ratio. But a very small number of people on the Cobra coverage.
So we're not in that much trouble since it's an average, but it's still high, but it's not, okay. Moving on to the next page. I gotta read my scribbles, sorry. So we're increasing the 8.06, which is similar to what we did in 1819.
That is correct.
How many high-cost claims did we hit that stop loss? Do we know?
I believe the number was 14. For the current year?
Yeah, for what's generating our numbers.
I'm sorry, again?
Yes, for the year that's generating our numbers. In other words, within our last use year. Current use year.
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, I'm sorry. Are you asking how many high-cost claims we have in the current year or in the previous year?
Correct.
Current year.
So the one that we're currently in. So how many times have we hit stop loss? It's okay if you don't know, Jimmy, and tell me later, because it's just a part of a calculation in my mind, but it's not that important. Do you know what our minimum required reserve is in that trust?
So to answer your first question, the number is 8. We had 16 last year. None of those 8 have pierced the stop loss.
Okay. So do you know what our minimum reserve is to meet our obligations within that trust? Okay, we're at 14. Can we drop to 9? That's just a random number, but.
Yeah, President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, so inside that, it would be roughly, if you want a whole dollar, it's about $6 million, and that's at a 25% reserve. The Valley Schools uses a number, and I don't know why, it's 17.63%. We have always deferred to 25% just due to the size of our group. Valley Schools uses 17.63, I think, for all their members.
Okay. Well, the only reason I'm asking, I mean, I understand the underfunding of the 1.9 million, basically utilizing those funds so that it doesn't hit the employees, and then the 700 in the M&O. But our trust appears to be very healthy considering it's one of several trusts. Is there a reason that we are not utilizing the full amount? And the only reason I'm asking that is just because the current economy is declining. We're in a kind of a rough spot, and we got to look at what it's going to be, not now, but in the coming new use year. And so, what kind of situation are we going to be in? In other words, is it better to utilize it now and reserve the M&O funds? Because you can't take money out of a trust. The only thing you can do is underfund it to basically pay for those expenses. So what would the benefit be to, rather than take the 700 out of M&O, put it all from the trust, and then hold the 700 in reserve in the event that it was needed?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, so as this work team worked through, there's really three levers that we have to operate. One is to just pay the freight of what the claims are telling us. Remember, as a self-insured entity, we're basically paying for every claim. So the more healthy we can get our employee population, the better off we would be. But one option, just pay it, which is the equivalent of the $700,000 we're talking out of M&O. The second item would be to change the plan designs, increase deductibles, et cetera, to be able to offset any increases that were projected. And the third would be able to use reserves since we are self-insured. And this work team looked at trying to balance that amongst the three options by electing for the two, specifically because if you look at the history here, the last 3 years, we really haven't taken an increase. So we have 3 years worth of experience in which we have not increased the contribution that we're making. We're also, because of the vacancies that you heard us talk about during the budget committee and whatnot, fewer lives that are contributing, and we're having to outsource some of those positions to cover, and those are not contributing to the population that remains as employees. So it was to find kind of some balance in the three levers that we have as options to consider, so that we did not create a funding cliff in a future year that could potentially be greater than even the $700,000. So it was just to try and balance those three levels.
Okay. And then the final question, you may or may not know the answer. They had told us in 2019 that these ASRS increases would stop and we would go back to that decline that we used to have. However, that has not occurred. Is it fully funded or is it in any bit of trouble like PSPRS?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, it's nowhere close to being fully funded, nor is it in the situation as of the public officers fund. I think the last report I saw was in the neighborhood of 70%. I think low 70s was what the ASRS funding level was. That's how much they're expected to receive compared to the claims that they would experience. And obviously, there's a lot of projection in that, right? They don't know how long everybody's going to live. They don't know how many people are going to be contributing for how long. So it's over the life of the expected plan. And I do remember, in fact, I've kept some of the material that they have provided that said that we've hit the top. And
2019, we were going to start going down afterwards.
It was going to go down.
Are they giving us another date?
The nominal rate should be somewhere closer to 8 or 9%, but here we are increasing it from the 12.17% to the 12.29%. So they have their own actuarial studies that create those percentages. They do that in conjunction with the JOBC, and it's kind of hard to argue with. As contributing members, we do all hope to be able to draw from it at some point today, so we do want it to be fully funded, but it is subject.
We're going to get to retire someday?
Yeah, well, that's at least the allure, right? But it is based on their earnings, and so there are some things like the marketplace and that can contribute to some of the contribution percentages that are established each year.
Okay, so we're kind of in an unknown still. Thank you, Jim.
That's great.
Thank you for the presentation. I understand, when I was in the classroom, the challenges, paying high benefits, paying $1,400 a month, and, it's very hard for teachers classifying in order to meet everyday needs and putting roof over their heads. It would be great if we can do, work together to make sure that we can work together to make sure that to cut, to bring it down. So I really hope that we can all collaborate to, and because that's another way to retain staff. Thank you. We're going to move on to reports. Mrs. Orway.
Sure. We had the first in our district, Boulder Creek's choir had an invitational choir thing, something similar to the bands that have rumbling drums, so on and so forth. And from what I heard, it was excellent. I know that we also had our Barry Goldwater Culinary Arts. Do we call them teams? Are they called teams? I think they're called teams. Anyway, they ran away with the show, and they'll be going to national. So it's great that we have the opportunity to host. I think we've got a bunch of basketball teams going, ladies and gentlemen, to the quarterfinals, and it's just awesome. I will say that for clarification purposes, I was not at the board retreat on Saturday due to a funeral which was said 2 weeks ago. I would also ask that any board member restrain themselves from posting, replying, commenting anything on social media that is misleading and misrepresenting what someone's doing, because I'm beginning to find it rather disrespectful. I will also read to you our policy BA. The governing board is responsible for the people of the district and therefore should be aware of the opinions and attitudes in the community and of identified district needs. As representatives of the people who own and support the schools, the board accepts the responsibility to identify community attitudes and opinions and district needs and to require short and long-range strategies that are responsive within the budgetary limitations of the district. These things are things we believe. A, an educated, alert, informed citizenry is essential for our way of life. By improving schools, hold on a second, it's a little small, our community can build itself up more quickly and surely than in any other way. Conversely, lack of wisdom in action on the part of the governing board can cause school morale and efficiency to quickly deteriorate from the top down. The individual board member is obligated to become as well informed on matters of good school administration as time permits. It is effective governance to obtain data from and work collaboratively with district administrators and consultants to fully understand proposed actions. The board should be a governing board providing oversight and not an operating board. No member of the board shall be asked to perform routine or clerical work that can be assigned to an employee. Any administrative function shall not extend beyond those assigned to the officers by policy. The board has a greater responsibility than merely to conduct the housekeeping of the district. Daily school operation involves executive and administrative function better delegated to district employees. And we adopted this almost 8 years to the day, February 24th, 2015. So I'd like us to keep that in mind as we carry out whatever it is we're going to say or do. I would also ask that on the March 28th board meeting, that number 9A, which was board etiquette, and 10A, which was board ethics, discussing regarding social media email discussions, be put on the March 28th meeting. According to our policy BEDBA, when an agenda item is to be moved to a future meeting, there will be a motion. That happened. It will be placed on the next agenda or another date. If 2 or more board members request an agenda item, so it kind of falls in between both of these or under both of these, it will be placed on an agenda in 60 days. So I believe that Saturday evening, when I emailed that request to the superintendent and the board president, 30 days is probably enough to get that on an agenda. Tomorrow we have our student summit, which is going to be a collection of intriguing, inspiring students. We've got Read Across America. What happened? Oh, I didn't know that. Where do we have that? So that's my 5 minutes? Good, and I ended it on a positive note and didn't even know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Orway. Stephanie?
Yeah, I want to start by saying Happy Public Schools Week. This week is an opportunity to celebrate our extraordinary public schools here in DVUSD, including our teachers, administrators, students, parents, who all work so hard for our DVUSD community. So thank you. I encourage our community to share their positive stories about public education on social media, and you can use the hashtag PSW23. So PSW23, in case you want to have anything you want to share. I had the pleasure of meeting in Inspiration Mountain's newest Knights on February 16th. Miss Weibel's kindergartners showed me their new baby chicks that had hatched. I talked with Miss Weibel, and she discussed with me kind of the process that they went through. The kinders learned about the life cycle of chickens, and they observed them for 21 days in their eggs in their incubators before they hatched. And you can actually log on to, you can go to Inspiration Mountain's homepage, and there's still a video there that shows the baby chicks hatching. Is pretty cool. And then on February 21st, I attended the new school board member orientation at Maricopa County with Superintendent Steve Watson. He put that on for all the new board members, which was great. It was informative, and we were able to dive into topics such as finance policy, ethics, and open meeting law, as well as meet some of his great staff that he has there. The Barry Goldwater Dance Program held their dance showcase last Thursday on February 23rd. Students chose their music, they edited their music, they picked out their costumes, and then they choreographed their own dances. And they all performed very beautifully, and they really should be very proud of themselves because it really was quite wonderful. I'm looking forward to attending the Student Advisory Council that meets tomorrow at Goldwater, and then on Friday, Union Park will be celebrating their Las Fallas beginning of it with a parade and an assembly. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. Finally, I would just like to take a moment to thank our community members who have taken the time to email the board with their questions and their concerns regarding the behavior they witnessed at the February 14th meeting, as well as some of the behavior witnessed at our retreat last Saturday, held over the weekend. I encourage you to please keep those coming. We hear you and we're listening, and I want everybody in our community to know that. My hope is to bring a discussion to the board within the next month regarding etiquette and ethics. As Ann had mentioned, I'd also like to second that we add 9A and 10A from the previous retreat agenda back onto the March 28th meeting. This will allow some time for us to discuss the etiquette and ethics, including social media usage and posting and things like that. I just want to apologize because I really am deeply concerned with the behavior that's taking place on this, especially when there's so much that needs attention for our communities, what we all kind of ran for, which is to help our students and our staff and our teachers. We really, I think, need a reminder to ourselves of why we were elected here to serve. And so my goal with that discussion of ethics and etiquette, maybe we can get a little closer to the understanding of that. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Carver?
Thank you, President Paperman. So on February 17th, I swear sometimes I'm just following around behind Mrs. Simicek. My wife and I, we went out to Inspiration Mountain to see their newest addition, the chicks in the kinder classes. We visited both of the classes and did a little Q&A with the students and found out that they've used this experience to learn a lot more about the chicks than just that they hatch. It's been science, a lot of different science. it's been math, it's been health, it's been everything for them. So it's great. We had them show us the right way to hold them, and they were very attentive, and they helped my wife hold one of the chicks. She really enjoyed that. Dr. Schwarting gave us a tour around the rest of the campus, and I've got kind of a special place in my heart for the STEM and STEAM classes, CTE. I'm really big on those sorts of things, and so we went to go visit Miss Witt in the Makerspace classroom. And she's doing amazing things with almost a relatively empty room. And she was telling me all about her great plans that she had and all the things that she needed. And I just so happened to ask her, I'm like, well, do you have a list? And wouldn't you know, she did. So I had her send me the list, and just as an active community member, I started seeking help filling the needs of that list. And by the end of business on the 11th, that next week, I plan on making a delivery. We've had a huge response from the community, and we've probably filled 90% of that list of her wish list that she had for her classroom. She was looking for tools. She was looking for PVC pipe, glue guns, just normal everyday things that individually don't cost a lot of money and shouldn't have to be a burden for her to try to fill that, or to have to wait for the wheels of government to find a way to afford it for her. So just reached out to the community, and they answered resoundingly. And so I'm hoping to be able to take that kind of community interaction and involvement and just multiply that and be able to do little things like that through the district. Again, on the 21st, followed Ms. Simichek to the new board training and orientation with the county superintendent. We did a little bit of training on school budgets, which is awesome, because your average everyday individual does not understand in the business that I'm in, we call them GO codes, but basically what all the money's for, what bucket it's coming out of, why it can't be used on certain things, why it has to be used on the things it's being used. We received a lot of education in that, and just some common ground rules of what a board should do, shouldn't do, what that looks like, and how to conduct yourself, how to interact with the superintendent, and that was really beneficial. Tomorrow, Arrowhead Elementary is having a literacy event. You'll be able to see me there. And then for those of us that are attending the Student Summit, those kids will be leading that event, and they have given the board members pretty pink shirts to wear so that we can stand out and everybody can see us coming in a crowd. So that'll be a good time. But it's anyway, I appreciate the time. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Mrs. Fisher?
Okay. I also spent my morning on the 14th with the chickens. I actually watched Paul and his wife drive out. She had a nice, lovely mix of Rhode Island Reds, and I'm going to totally slaughter this Astrolorps chickens. So I still owe Ms. Weibel some research, and I haven't forgot you. I am going to send it. I do have a few questions from some various areas. And since we are on time, I'm going to go ahead and ask them quick. What schools are currently under-enrolled? And do we have statistics on our turnover rate in the last couple of years? How many principals are we needing to recruit at this time? And then questions from the Friday update. It was noted that the governor will veto most bad bills, but could you please provide the list of remaining bills concerning and their impact to DVUSD? It was expressed that TSMC may be considering working with BASIS, and it could cost them. How often does the TSMC foreign trade zone exemption come before the board? I think considering the 6 to 20 million tax credit being held over them would most likely deteriorate relationships, and it doesn't seem like a good way to go to me. So I'd like to know if that trade zone is going to come back. I would also like to know why the board was not made aware of the arrested employee prior to the community member or media notification. And why do we keep allowing these individuals to resign versus terminating child predators? I, as in the review of the positions that you brought forward, I am glad that they are going to be part of the job study. I just want to make sure that we're also looking at not just the title, but the work. Because there was some talk about, I've just heard some talk about the title's one thing, but the position, the actual work is something different. So I just want to make sure that that is occurring. And I also would like to know if we are utilizing our internal resources prior to seeking external resources. So in other words, if we already have a staff member that does that and has time, I want to preface that because I don't want to overwhelm our staff. But if we have someone, then I would hope we're putting the work to our individuals, which are highly skilled, versus seeking external. Finally, I would like to request an executive session in the next month or two with our attorney to ask a few questions regarding process. And then I would also like to thank the parents who have also provided a lot of wonderful feedback and who are very much watching. I am a little concerned in that I see both sides, and I'm concerned that we have parents against parents. And that is just, a couple of years ago, it was proposed, well, it's more than a couple, that we have a exclusive parent advisory group. And I don't know whether that occurred or did not occur, but somewhere within, I don't know, from 2018 to now, we have two very distinct parent groups that are very separated. And I don't know if we have a strategy to kind of pull them together, but that would be nice. Like I said, Mr. Carver and I have both talked about how Vail did it. It may be good to reach out and see what they did because it worked. I mean, they were like in the news fighting, like throwing their board out and re-voting in the hall. And they managed to pull their community together. So I think it would be great if we could maybe steal some ideas, liberate some ideas, and can try them. Also, there is no offense in answering the community's question. We were told that Ms. Horley would not be available for any Saturdays. That's the only reason I responded to the question that was directed towards me.
Okay, I do
it's
want to
her-
clarify
it's
that, Mrs. Paperman. It
it's
was
her-
said
it's her
at the
name.
February 14th meeting, and I don't know why I have to defend going to a funeral, but I did say that no Saturdays were available, and then when I tried to acquiesce to that, I told you I was going to a funeral. So there you have it.
Okay, mine is going to be short and sweet. Congratulations again to all of those that receive awards. I also would like to make a statement. I did receive emails, I don't know, three community members or 4 community members regarding Mrs. Fisher. I assume this is with the social media and this and that. I think from my observation, I think, we need to start being fixated on Mrs. Fisher. She's been on the board for how long? 8 years? She's been posting on social media for this long. Like I had stated to Mrs. Fisher, pray and leave it up to God. But you know what? She is her own person. So I just want to community members that Mrs. Fisher is her own person and she communicates with her group in social media on some topics or concerns. And I haven't heard anything if they're open meeting laws. So once again, we need to stop being fixating on her that, oh, you're posting this on social, well, if you don't want to see what she posts on social media, don't look at it. I have been, I have ran for state superintendent, governing board. I have been attacked by individuals. Do I respond back to them? I just, I do not even look at it. I was treated badly when I ran as state superintendent, so certain individuals, they want to be nasty or put things that they're going to be hurting feelings. They don't look at it. We are elected officials. This is what we deal with. And once again, My observation is that we need to stop being fixating on Mrs. Fisher and move forward. Thank you, Superintendent report.
I'm going to spend a couple minutes of my time going through the play-by-play of the game that you missed. I was there, and it was the seismic win needs to be exaggerated a little more, replayed. Just to set the scene, we're at Mesquite. We are ranked number 8. They are ranked number 5. So we're not supposed to win anyway. And they have a better record, yada, yada. Deer Valley had already beaten the number 1 team, ALA, the week before. So now they are 8 playing at their house, Mesquite's house, packed house. In fact, Deer Valley had more fans than they did, I thought. And we are down by 6 with 3 minutes left. In the next 2 minutes, we made, I believe, 4 3-pointers, and 3 of them were crazy, like impossible shots, and they kept making 2s. Well, with 1:40 left, it's a tie game. So exchange, ran out of time. Without the AIA installing the shot clock, this game would have been over. But thanks to AIA, they put that in play. That totally changed the game and how we play it today. So I want to thank them. So we're down now to 4 seconds. They call a foul on us, and so they go to the line, shoot a 1-on-1. We have a lane violation. No, they get to reshoot it. They make it. Now they're up 1, 65-64, I believe. And so calls timeout. Place is going nuts. Kid shoots the next one, misses it. And our kid gets the rebound, dribbles the length of the floor. Remember, there's 4 seconds left. About mid-court, throws a baseball pass while going 100 miles an hour to a kid who catches it and puts it in at the buzzer. We win by 1. The place went nuts. Deer Valley students ran and mobbed the floor. It was awesome. And then obviously it was a big-time celebration for the next 30 minutes on that floor. It was pretty exciting. Just wanted to share that with you. Now they play Peoria for the state championship on Thursday. So I believe that's the downtown Coliseum, I think they call it that, by the fairgrounds. Veterans Memorial. We do have Boulder Creek playing Brophy in the semis, and I think we have beat them before. So that's on Thursday. I think our girls, what is it, Wednesday? Wednesday's tomorrow. Get my days mixed up. I'll be at that one as well. But that's at Brophy because they are ranked higher than we are from a game perspective. I think our girls Deer Valley lost tonight up in Flagstaff. But so make sure you get out to see Deer Valley on Thursday at Veterans Memorial at 7, I believe, for the state championship against Peoria, our friends next door. They have gotten us a couple times this year, so it'll be hard to overcome. And I wanted to remind everybody, it's Read Across America. I stuck Dr. Seuss's hat on today, read a couple books. That was a lot of fun. Desert Mountain and Mirage, and then I'll be on at Copper Creek on Friday. So just challenge the students and parents to continue to read. Reading is the secret to school, period. Reading's in everything. So if you can successfully read, all the rest will come easier. Our next school board meeting is next Tuesday. So they are coming fast. Spring break is March 12th, the week of March 12th. So hope everyone is looking forward to that. We just have to dodge the rainstorm tomorrow. Sorry about that. It seems to come on every student summit about every 3 years. So looking forward to that. So that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you. Future meetings are posted. Can I get a motion to adjourn? All those in
Second.
favor? Aye.